All right, everyone. Welcome to the Stop the Sabotage webinar. I really appreciate all of you taking the time to join us. And there's a never ending supply of reasons not to attend anything, not just webinars like this, but not to go to your unit meetings, not to attend seminar, career conference, leadership, what have you. And so just the fact that you are not one of the people that are looking for reasons not to do something, and instead you're one of the people searching for reasons to build your business, to work on yourself, etc., means to me that you are the cream of the cream of the cream of the crop. And I acknowledge you for that. And I want you to acknowledge and appreciate yourself for that as well. My name is Sean Smith. That is a picture of me. It's actually a caricature of me on the right-hand side there. And today in this webinar, we're going to be talking about stop the sabotage. Sabotage is something that almost everybody deals with in all walks of life. Today, we're going to be talking about it specifically as it relates to your Mary Kay business. None of these concepts are Mary Kay specific, but we're going to talk about the application of them in your Mary Kay business simply because that's who you all are, and that's one of the vehicles you've chosen to better your life. And that's why all of these examples will be Mary Kay examples. None of them are intended to shine any kind of negative light on Mary Kay, the company, or anybody in Mary Kay, or any training that you've ever gotten in Mary Kay. We're only using applications in the form of examples in your Mary Kay business. So we're going to talk about how to identify, clarify, and get rid of the internal fears that are actually creating the sabotaging patterns. They're all going to be related to the internal conflicts that you have, specifically limiting beliefs. We're going to dive deep into limiting beliefs. We're not just going to be talking about behaviors, but we're going to go down deeper into the seeds that eventually grow into the sabotage. And I want to help you get rid of the actual conflicts so that you're not just wrestling with the surface level challenges. My purpose today is to spend the next hour or so with you. I want to teach you everything that I can about what I've learned to be true about success and achievement, specifically in my experience in more than a decade working with thousands and thousands of Mary Kay directors, nationals, and consultants. What we're going to talk about and dive into specifically is why people actually sabotage themselves, how to identify the problems instead of just the symptoms, how to erase the cause of your perfectionism, procrastination, internal fears. We're going to talk about the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, as well as the fear of success, and a couple specific applications of the fear of success, which I think are going to be intriguing to you, specifically how many of you are afraid of climbing towards success now, and also many of you are afraid of hearing a yes in your Mary Kay business. So as I said earlier, none of this is meant to shed any negative light on Mary Kay. I absolutely love this company. Some of the things that I love about Mary Kay are, number one, the products make people feel fantastic. I every day use some of the Mary Kay products, and I've had some fantastic transformations myself. I also love the company's mission to enrich women's lives. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of women have had their lives fundamentally changed. I suspect all of you have, otherwise you wouldn't be on this webinar. You wouldn't still be in the company, and you certainly wouldn't be chasing any new thoughts like a training like this in order to continue to grow if you hadn't had your life enriched on some level. And deeper than that, what I love is the personal development opportunity that it has in store for you. Mary Kay has this special way of bringing you face to face with all of your challenges, all of your doubts, all of your fears, all of your questions about whether you can do this. And that's simply an opportunity for you to grow. And I actually love that more than anything else about this company is the personal development invitation you have. And a lot of people just won't take that invitation. They're going to continue to try to avoid all the things that are required in order to help them grow as a person. And I highly, highly suggest that you don't avoid those invitations, that you run toward them actually. And what I love about you specifically, not just the company, but you specifically, is that you're willing to invest time and energy and money, which is also time and energy, in yourself, because you understand that you are your most valuable asset in your business. And you must be committed to taking action. Obviously, I already talked about that. You've got to be ready for something bigger in your life and in your business. And that can only come from inside of you. So here's the truth: you're not in the Mary Kay business. You're not in the skincare business. You're not in the cosmetics business. You're not in the beauty business. You're not in the image business. You're not in any of those things. You're in the people business. And more than that, you are your business. That's why you are your most valuable asset. That's why the energy, the time, and the money that you invest in yourself is the wisest investment, because at the core of your success will be you, will be your internal makeup, not your skill set, not how many scripts you can memorize. It's you. It's your ability and willingness to get back up when you fall down. It's your courage. It's your determination. It's your discipline. It's all of those things that are internal to you. That's what will determine your success. And I know for the most part I'm preaching to the choir, but we have to lay that foundation for everything that we are about to get into. So here's the reality about what's possible when we take a look at sabotage. It's absolutely possible to clear away your biggest internal blocks, not just cope with them. I'm not in the coping business. I don't think you're in the coping business. I don't know of anybody who, when they were little, said, you know what, I just want to cope with my biggest challenges and I want to cope with my fears when I become an adult. Nobody wants to do that. We all want to live a life of freedom, a life of success, the highest levels. And you can't do that if you're just carrying around all of this baggage, coping with the challenges that you have. Now, this change can absolutely be made. Some people don't believe it can happen in the first place, or if they do believe it can happen, they think it's going to take years and years and years. But the reality is, it can happen quickly as long as you have the right mindset. And once you get rid of these internal behaviors and the actual challenges around your sabotage, then the success will follow in your business. But you must take action, and this has to be an inside out process if it's going to be long term and if it's going to be sustainable. You can make some of the outside in changes, or just some of the outside changes where you focus on some of the things that are more surface level, and you look at some of your skill sets and you memorize some of the scripts. All that stuff is okay. It can make small shifts, but it can never make big shifts, and it can never really generate long-term success because it can't change the foundation, right? But when you shift your foundation and you clear some of these internal challenges, it's amazing what can happen. And I just want to share some of those with you before we get into the actual meat here. Antonella is a director from New York, and she said once she got rid of her perfectionism, her income tripled immediately. So ask yourself if you would be okay with your income tripling immediately, if you can budget that. And we also have Koti from Texas. She did some of this internal work as well, and just making some of the foundational shifts. She brought in over 80 team members in 1 month and over $28,000 in production in a single month. And what she says, though, is that what she's more excited about and happy with is the shifts that she had in her family, the relationship with her husband, the relationship with her children, and that she's found balance in her life. And I love this last part. Oh, yeah, by the way, I got into my Cadillac. When you make these internal shifts, the tangible success you can create in your life, and specifically in Mary Kay, is like an, oh, by the way, I also generated all this money. I also got into the Cadillac. I also became a director. And when your tangible results are a byproduct of the intangible internal shifts, that's when life becomes amazing. That's when the lights get brighter, so to speak. That's when the colors become more vibrant. That's when it becomes a lot more easier and much more fulfilling. But here's the reality: most consultants, most directors don't have the business that they signed up for. And I'm not trying to burst any bubbles, but that's the reality. And most of them are chasing the wrong problems at the surface. They're constantly searching for some of the skill set stuff, the recruiting scripts, the hostess programs, the time management systems, the tracking forms, how to handle objections, the secrets of motivating other people, the rules of leadership, etc. Those are all surface level stuff. And what happens when you focus on all the surface level stuff, it leads to more challenges. It leads to frustration. It actually leads to more overwhelm. It leads to more doubt, more anxiety. It leads to more stress. It leads to lower self esteem. It increases financial worries, strained relationships, disappointment. It actually increases the problems. And obviously, it doesn't have to be that way. It's not Mary Kay Ash's vision for what this company is. As I said earlier, it's not a Mary Kay problem. This is a universal human behavior problem. But the reality is, this is what most people are experiencing, right? What I know to be true after being in this company for over 10 years is that most of you just want to feel like you're not fighting against the parking brake, right? You want to just let go of any of the internal things that are stopping you. You want to be motivated to work your business on a daily basis or however much you want to do it. You want to get rid of those fears of rejection and failure and talking to people and warm chatting and all of that stuff. You want more confidence. You want more clarity, specifically on what to do in Mary Kay and what to say when you're talking to people. The bottom line is you want it to be fun and you want it to be simple. And obviously, you're in business as well. So you want it to be profitable. You want to make really good money without all of the struggle, without all of the inconsistency, without all of the stress. You want it to be fun. So before I go any further, I want to give you a 60 to 100-second version, if I can, about who I am. I'm there in the bottom right-hand corner. That's my family, my wife, Sybil, my daughter, McKenna, and my son, Exley. I am a father and a husband first. I've become a speaker and a coach since then. I have this amazing family that I just introduced you to. They are my why, they are my fuel. And what got me into personal development in the first place, way back when I was 13 years old, I was actually almost killed in a hit and run accident by my next door neighbor. And it was at a point where I was high on life. I didn't think anything could go wrong. I was looking at life through an immortal perspective, right? I didn't know that I knew consciously at some point that I was going to die, but I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking like I was invincible. And then this incident happened. And if you take a look at the details of this accident, there's no reason I should have survived. But for whatever reason, I wasn't done. And God allowed me to come off of death's doorstep. And it completely changed the way I viewed everything. And if any of you have had a near death experience, I believe that you can relate to what I'm saying. So I realized in that moment that we are not promised our next breath. And I basically had a conversation with myself and I made a promise that if I only have one shot and I don't know when my last breath is going to be, then I was going to do everything that I possibly could to live a life of excellence, to not settle for mediocrity. But even though I made that promise to myself for the next almost 20 years, I still struggled. So I learned that willpower alone is not enough until in 2005, I had a monster breakthrough at a personal development seminar with a life coach where I understood for the first time why I was holding myself back. And it was at that time that I learned about these limiting beliefs and fears and values and all the things that I'm going to continue diving into with you on this webinar. And I just decided that I needed to share this information because it completely shifted my energy. I felt lighter. My wife said, "What happened to you?" My friends were going, "Hey man, what's going on? You're smiling too much," and completely shifted my life. And I know we throw around this phrase of breakthrough or life-changing scenario. We throw those kinds of phrases and words around a lot, but that really truly did change my life. And then in 2006, I just sort of accidentally fell into the pink bubble of Mary Kay. I never intended to be a speaker, a coach, or trainer in the Mary Kay world. But once I experienced the culture, once I went to a seminar and I felt the vibe, I felt the hunger in the room, I was hooked. And so for the last decade plus, I've been coaching and training in the Mary Kay world. So I've gotten to know a lot about the not just the language, but the thoughts and the desires and what really holds consultants and directors back. But deeper than you just building a business, you all have a purpose on this planet. And I know you understand that on a certain level. I also know that most of us don't really touch our deepest desire to share what we've learned or our deepest mission on this planet. Most of us don't ever get fully connected with that. And I wasn't fully connected with that until a few short years ago when I had the experience of my father calling me and telling me that he had pancreatic cancer. And many of you know the story. He was diagnosed with stage 4 of pancreatic cancer. And at that point, most people it's just a matter of time. And that was the case for my dad. I ended up bringing him home to my house, and he lived his final 80 days in our living room on a hospital bed. And I had the opportunity to have a final conversation with him just before he died, just when I realized he had lost his will to live, and now he wanted to basically speed up the process, and he wanted to just pass away without any pain. I got this sense of incompletion. And so I got permission from the nurses to take his pain patches off because I just wanted, one more conversation with that man. And I wanted to tell him what he meant to me. And I wanted to let him know the kind of legacy that he was going to leave with me, with my friends, with my childhood teammates. And so I had this beautiful conversation where I was holding his hand and I just talked with him for about 45 minutes to an hour. And finally, when I knew it was almost over, this conversation, I asked this question: Dad, how can I live your legacy when you're gone? And he shook his head as though I'd asked a silly question. And with no hesitation, he said, Shawnee, just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And those words still bring goosebumps to me every time I say them, and I can feel his presence in my body, and I can remember how those words really hit me. And I knew that I had just been given this gift. And once I felt these words land in my soul, I also knew that I had an obligation to share this work, to share this feeling right here, to share these words with people. And when you get connected to your deeper purpose, you'll feel a sense of obligation. You'll feel a sense that you cannot sit on your hands. You cannot let the opportunity go by. You have to talk to more people. And most people just never really get that sense. And if they do touch their purpose, all of these other surface level fears and all these sabotaging patterns get in the way. And so what we're talking about here, what I'm getting at, is a way for you to clear the space so that you can live your purpose and you can share whatever your message is with the people that you come in contact with, whatever that is for you. And I'm not suggesting that this is yours. I'm saying this is mine, but you have something that you've really got to give to people that come into contact with you. And my invitation is that you connect with that at such a deep level that you couldn't not share it, because that's the level of obligation that you have. And the reason I'm here on this planet, and specifically why I'm here with you today, is because I know that you have success inside of you. I know that you're committed to it. I know that you have the ability and the willingness and the desire and the deep obligation now to help a lot of people on this journey. And my purpose is to hold a space big enough for you to take everything you have and bet it on yourself, so that you let go of the obstacles that are in your way. Because the reality is that most people are doing nothing but bet against themselves every single day. Most people are focusing on all the reasons they can't succeed, all the reasons they can't win, all the reasons they shouldn't get on the phone and talk to people, all the reasons that success is not meant for them, all the reasons that they can't be a director, all the reasons they can't be a national. And all of that is BS. And you've got to, at some point in time, get to the point where you're willing to fight for yourself and not against yourself. Most people never cross that line. And until you cross that line and you're willing to bet everything you have on yourself, then you will constantly be part of the problem. And that problem is not your fault. I know at no point did you say, I'm going to intentionally be part of the problem. But you've got to understand that you are not only the biggest problem, but because of that, you are the only solution and the biggest solution. And I'm here to invite you to make that shift. That's the shift I made in 2005. That's what caused me to change everything in my life. That's what caused me to start making more money. That's what caused me to start loving myself. That's what caused me to start fighting for myself and not against myself. That's what changed everything. So if you're willing to play a bigger game, you've got to cross that line. And not until you cross that line will you even be able to fundamentally be in your own corner. That's what I'm here to do, because I know that you're meant to play full out no matter what happens to you. You have a story that needs to be told. You have a song that needs to be sung. You've chosen Mary Kay to be a vehicle for that, but nobody that I've ever met has a Mary Kay problem. You have internal problems that Mary Kay exposes. That's it. Now, if you're willing to address those challenges, then I want to invite you to bet big on yourself. That's why I'm here. So here's what I want you to get from this presentation, that your beliefs internally are going to determine everything. They're going to determine your identities, your drivers, your values, the definitions you have of pain, pleasure, right, wrong, good, bad, success, failure. They're going to determine the expectations you have of other people. They'll determine your head talk. They'll determine all of the choices that you make. They'll determine all of your actions. Basically, all of your results in life and business. If I can make just a blanket statement, and I very rarely make universal statements like that, but in this case, I believe it. All of your results in life and business will be determined by your belief system. You will never be able to outperform your belief system. So any attempt at behavioral change without belief change from an internal perspective is doomed. At best, it's short-lived. I'm not saying you can't make a little bit of progress. You can, but it can't be sustainable, and it can't fundamentally or foundationally change your life, because fundamental shifts and foundational shifts can only happen at the belief level. They can only happen at the roots